the only human in an alien girls' class. No one expected their reaction.
Alex stepped off the transport shuttle with a heavy sigh, his backpack weighing him down more than it should.
The sun hung low over the sprawling school campus, casting long shadows across the alien architecture. The buildings didn't look like anything he had ever seen on Earth. Tall, curving structures with windows that shimmered with colors he couldn't name. The air smelled faintly metallic, mixed with a sweet, floral scent that seemed to come from nowhere. Everywhere he looked, alien students moved around, their appearances so different that Alex felt like he had walked into a dream. He clutched his schedule, staring at the unfamiliar symbols that represented classroom numbers and names. His stomach tightened. This was it! The first day at a school halfway across the galaxy, and he was the only human among hundreds of alien students. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, being excited to meet new friends, learning about other planets, discovering new things. But reality was different. As Alex walked toward the main building, a group of girls passed by. Their skin shimmered in colors that changed with every step, some like liquid silver, others glowing faintly like the moon. Their eyes were large, oval-shaped, and gleaming with colors Alex couldn't identify. They whispered to each other in voices that sounded like music, high-pitched yet melodic. One of them glanced at him, her expression unreadable, then turned away. Alex felt the warmth drain from his face. He had expected stares. He had expected curiosity. What he hadn't expected was this silent, tense scrutiny. Every step he took felt like it drew more eyes, more whispers, more attention he didn't want. His heart raced as he entered the classroom for the first time. The room was unlike any classroom he had ever seen. The desks weren't in neat rows. They floated slightly above the floor, rearranging themselves when students sat down. Holographic screens projected lessons in multiple languages, some of which Alex couldn't begin to understand. At the center of the room was a large circular table where the teacher stood. A tall figure with translucent skin that glowed softly, her voice calm yet commanding. "Welcome, everyone," she said in a language Alex partially understood. "We have a new student joining us today." Her glowing eyes turned to him. "This is Alex. He is from Earth. I trust you will all make him feel welcome." The classroom fell silent. Alex could feel the weight of dozens of gazes on him, measuring him, judging him. He forced a smile, but it felt hollow. He muttered a quiet hello, hoping it would be enough. The whispers started again, a soft chorus of curious voices he couldn't understand. He moved to an empty desk at the back of the room. From there, he could see the others clearly. There were students with wings folded neatly against their backs, ones with long tentacles instead of hair, some with scales that glimmered like gemstones. Some had multiple eyes. Others had patterns on their skin that shifted and shimmered. Alex felt a mix of awe and fear. The teacher began the lesson, explaining a simple concept in a mix of alien languages, slowing down when Alex looked lost. But even with the explanations, he struggled to follow. Every gesture, every symbol, every example was foreign to him. He scribbled notes as best he could, trying not to fall behind, but his hand shook slightly. A group of girls whispered behind him, pointing and laughing softly. Alex felt his cheeks heat up. He didn't know if they were laughing at him, or if it was something else entirely. He wished he could disappear, wished he could be back home, where everything was familiar, predictable, safe. Recess came, and Alex hesitated by the entrance to the garden. He watched as the alien girls formed small circles, chatting and laughing in their strange languages. He tried to smile and make himself approachable, but they seemed to ignore him completely. He felt like an invisible barrier separated him from everyone else. A barrier made not of walls, but of differences he couldn't overcome yet. One girl with pale lavender skin and hair that floated as if underwater noticed him standing alone. She tilted her head, studying him. Alex held her gaze for a moment before quickly looking away, embarrassed. She gave him a small nod and walked back to her friends, leaving him with a strange mix of relief and disappointment. He wandered through the garden, noting strange plants that pulsed with light and insects that hovered without wings. Everything here seemed alive, in a way he had never experienced. But even in this marvel, Alex felt lonely. He had left Earth to have an adventure, to learn, to grow. Yet, at this moment, he felt more out of place than he had ever imagined. During lunch, he sat at a small table alone. The cafeteria smelled of unfamiliar spices, some sweet, some sharp. Alien students ate with their hands, or with strange tools, or sometimes with no utensils at all. He tried to imitate them, poking at a glowing fruit with a stick, unsure how to eat it. A girl with shimmering blue skin noticed and giggled. He flinched, but instead of mocking him, she simply handed him a small, round fruit and pointed to her own mouth, silently showing how to eat it. Alex smiled genuinely for the first time since he arrived. It was a small gesture, but it mattered. Someone had seen him, acknowledged him, and extended kindness. It gave him a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, he could belong here. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of lessons, exercises, and attempts at understanding the alien systems of learning. Alex struggled, but he tried. But each time he noticed a quiet patience in some of the students around him. They didn't mock him. They didn't push him away. They watched. Sometimes they waited. Sometimes they helped. By the time the school day ended, Alex was exhausted, not just from learning, but from the constant awareness of being different. He packed his bag slowly, lingering in the classroom for a few moments to observe his classmates. He noticed small acts of kindness, a student holding the door open for another, a quiet laugh shared over a funny mistake, a small note passed between desks. As he walked back to his dorm, Alex reflected on the day. He hadn't made friends yet. Not really. He had felt awkward, confused, and out of place. But he had also glimpsed kindness, curiosity, and connection in small doses. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep him going. That night, as he lay in his unfamiliar bed, Alex stared at the ceiling and thought about tomorrow. Maybe it wouldn't be as terrifying as today. Maybe he could learn to understand them. Maybe they could understand him. And maybe, just maybe, he could find a place where he belonged. Not despite being human, but because of it. Even though he was the only human in a class full of alien girls, Alex felt the first flicker of hope that being different didn't have to mean being alone. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had survived his first day, but today felt even more important. Today, he would really have to interact with the class. He dressed quickly in his school uniform, a plain, dark tunic that was surprisingly comfortable. He packed his bag, double-checked his schedule, and took a deep breath before stepping out into the bright morning sunlight of the campus. As he walked to the classroom, he noticed groups of students practicing for lessons outside. Some were levitating small objects with their hands, others were adjusting their glowing wings, or practicing movements in perfect synchrony. The sights were mesmerizing, but they also reminded him how out of place he was. He tried to blend in, walking with steady steps, keeping his eyes forward, but he could feel them again. The gazes, the curiosity, the subtle whispering. When he entered the classroom, the alien girls were already gathered around their desks, preparing for a practical science exercise. Today, they were supposed to work in pairs to experiment with energy crystals that could glow, change color, or levitate depending on concentration and focus. Alex's stomach tightened. He had never worked with anything like this before. "Alex," the teacher said gently, her translucent skin glowing softly.
You will join a group today. Do your best, and remember to cooperate.
Alex nodded, trying not to show how nervous he felt. The teacher gestured to a table where 3 alien girls were waiting. They looked at him silently, their expressions unreadable. One of them had deep green skin with patterns that shifted like tiny rivers. Another had soft violet skin and long flowing tendrils instead of hair. And the last had golden scales that shimmered like sunlight. Alex approached, clutching his notes. He tried to smile, saying, "Hi, I'm Alex." The girls exchanged glances. The green-skinned one tilted her head and said something in her language, a series of soft sounds that Alex couldn't understand.
She then pointed at him and repeated it slowly in broken English. "You? Try?" Alex nodded, grateful that at least part of it was understandable.
"Yes, I will try," he said, holding up the energy crystal. The first challenge came immediately. Alex tried to focus on the crystal, hoping it would respond. He concentrated, imagining it glowing blue, like the calm sky on Earth. But instead, the crystal shot upward, bounced off the table, and landed on the floor with a sharp clink. The 3 girls gasped. The green-skinned one covered her mouth with her hand, the violet one's tendrils shook slightly, and the golden-scaled one blinked rapidly. Alex's face burned. He had expected mistakes. He had even feared them. But the sheer reaction of the group made him feel more exposed than ever. I'm sorry," Alex stammered, bending to pick up the crystal. "I'm not used to this." The green-skinned girl gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod. She didn't scold him, she didn't laugh cruelly. Instead, she handed him another crystal, smaller this time, and spoke slowly. "Focus. Feel. Not force." Alex frowned. "Feel?" he asked. She nodded, pointing at the crystal. "Energy, now, inside you." It sounded strange, almost impossible. But Alex did his best. He closed his eyes and tried to calm his mind. Slowly, very slowly, the crystal began to glow faintly. The violet-skinned girl's tendrils waved slightly, as if impressed, and the golden-scaled girl leaned closer, examining his crystal. "Better," the green-skinned girl said softly. "Try again." For the next 30 minutes, they worked together. Alex's first attempts were shaky, but gradually he began to understand their methods. They didn't rush him. They didn't criticize harshly. Instead, they demonstrated, showed patience, and encouraged small successes. Alex realized that they weren't mocking him. They were teaching him in their own way. During a break, Alex hesitated outside the classroom. He watched the girls laugh together over something he couldn't understand. For a moment, he felt the familiar sting of loneliness. He had thought he might start to belong after yesterday, but now, seeing them so comfortable without him, he felt invisible again. A soft tap on his shoulder made him jump. The violet-skinned girl stood there, her tendrils floating gently in the air. She held out a small holographic device. "Try this," she said, pointing at the screen. Alex examined it. It appeared to show the crystal's energy levels and movements. He nodded, grateful for the help. Together they experimented, watched the readings, and adjusted their techniques. Slowly, Alex began to feel a connection, not just to the crystal, but to the girl guiding him. He realized that even though their appearances and languages were different, the way they approached problems was not so alien after all. As the lesson continued, the group faced a bigger challenge. The energy crystals were meant to levitate in sync, forming a pattern in the air. The green-skinned girl demonstrated and Alex tried to imitate, but his first attempt caused the crystal to shoot backward, narrowly missing the violet-skinned girl. Alex's heart raced, expecting anger or laughter. Instead, the golden-scaled girl gently tapped his arm. "Try again," she said calmly. "We all learn." Alex blinked in surprise. No one was angry. No one laughed. He nodded, took a deep breath, and tried again. This time, the crystal lifted slowly, wobbling in the air. but not falling. The girl's eyes brightened slightly, and Alex felt a rush of pride. By the end of the class, their group had successfully made all the crystals levitate together, forming a delicate pattern of colors and light. Alex looked at them, feeling a strange warmth. They hadn't just tolerated him. They had included him. They hadn't expected him to succeed, and yet, here he was. The teacher approached, glowing softly.
Excellent work, group. You have learned more than just technique today.
You have learned cooperation.
Alex smiled, feeling lighter than he had all morning.
For the first time, he didn't feel like an outsider. Maybe he could learn to fit in here after all. That evening, back in the dorm, Alex reflected on the day. The mistakes, the awkward moments, the stumbles, they hadn't been the end. They had been the beginning. He realized that his fear of being different had made him focus too much on himself rather than on the people around him. By paying attention, by listening, by trying, he could find his place. He also thought about the alien girls. They weren't unkind. They were cautious, curious, and sometimes impatient. But they had guided him patiently. He could see that their world was different, yes, but not impossible to understand. Differences didn't have to divide them. They could connect through small gestures, shared effort, and mutual respect. As Alex lay in bed, he felt a quiet excitement. Tomorrow, there would be more lessons, more challenges, more moments of uncertainty. But there would also be opportunities to learn, to connect, to grow, and he was ready to take them. For the first time since arriving, Alex didn't dread the day ahead. He looked forward to it. Being the only human in a class full of alien girls was still strange, still challenging, but it no longer felt impossible. He had discovered something important. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. Courage was trying anyway, even when you felt out of place. The following morning, Alex woke up feeling both nervous and excited. Today was different. Dough's broken. The teacher had announced a special project that would last for a week, and it required all students to work in small groups. The goal was to combine skills from different planets and species to create something unique. For Alex, this was both terrifying and thrilling. He would finally have to work closely with the alien girls, not just during class exercises, but in a project where everyone's contribution mattered. He ate breakfast quickly, barely tasting the food, and walked to the classroom. As he entered, he noticed the 3 girls from yesterday waiting for him at their usual table. They smiled at him, though in subtle ways.
The green-skinned girl's shifting patterns seemed brighter. The violet-skinned girl's tendrils floated gently, and the golden-scaled girl's eyes sparkled.
Alex felt a flutter of nervousness. He wanted to impress them, but also feared making mistakes again. The teacher clapped her hands softly.
Today, you will begin your group project.
Each group must present an experiment demonstrating energy manipulation across species. You will have 1 week. Remember, collaboration is as important as results.
Alex's heart raced.
Collaboration had always been challenging for him, even on Earth, but he reminded himself of yesterday. The lessons they had shared, the patience they had shown. Maybe, just maybe, he could contribute something valuable. The girls handed him a tablet-like device with holographic instructions. Alex studied it carefully. It showed diagrams of energy crystals, light pathways, and concentration exercises. It looked complicated, even more so than yesterday. His first instinct was to panic. He felt the familiar rush of fear that had plagued him since arriving. But then he remembered the green-skinned girl's words. Focus. Feel.
Not force. He took a deep breath and nodded.
I can do this, he whispered to himself. The group began to discuss their approach.
The green-skinned girl, whose name Alex learned was Leora, suggested a plan.
We must balance the crystals.
Each species adds energy differently. Human, maybe intuition helps? She gave him a small smile, as if encouraging him. Alex felt a spark of hope. The violet-skinned girl named Solara added,
We must synchronize thoughts.
Energy flows together, not separately. Her tendrils floated around her, glowing faintly as she spoke. Alex nodded, still unsure but determined to try. The golden-scaled girl, Maurice, leaned forward. We must practice patience. Errors will happen, yes, but each error teaches. Her voice was calm, steady, and somehow comforting. Alex felt a sense of relief wash over him. These girls weren't just teachers in disguise, they were guides, willing to let him learn. They began experimenting. Alex carefully lifted his crystal, concentrating on calm thoughts. The crystal quivered, then slowly rose. Leora adjusted her own crystal, showing Alex how to align it with his energy. Solara's tendrils waved, demonstrating a rhythm, and Maris guided the flow of light between their crystals. It was difficult. More than once, Alex lost focus, and the crystals tumbled, collided, or dimmed. Each time he expected frustration or ridicule. Instead, the girls calmly corrected, demonstrated, and encouraged. Slowly, Alex began to notice a pattern. He didn't need to force energy or try to dominate the crystals. He needed to observe, adjust, and cooperate. Hours passed like minutes. They laughed quietly over small mistakes, crystals bouncing unexpectedly, patterns shifting in funny ways, Solara's tendrils brushing against Alex accidentally. For the first time, Alex felt like he belonged. He wasn't just the human boy trying to survive. He was part of a team, valued and respected. During a break, they gathered in the dorm lounge, sitting on soft, floating cushions. Leora spoke quietly.
Leora. You are different, but difference is not weakness.
You see, we notice. Alex looked at her, curious. Notice? What do you mean? We notice your effort, your patience. Your human way of thinking differently helps us too, she said.
We are strong together because each of us brings something unique. Alex's chest warmed. No one had ever said something like that to him before.
Back on Earth, he often felt invisible or ordinary. Here, he was appreciated for being himself. Solara added softly, Sometimes we feel alone, even among our own species. You help us see things differently. Her tendrils floated closer, almost brushing his arm. Alex nodded, understanding. They had vulnerabilities too, just like him. And in sharing those vulnerabilities, a bond began to form. Maris smiled. Tomorrow we will try the full pattern. Today was practice. Today we learned patience, trust, and collaboration. These are as important as success. Alex smiled back, feeling confident for the first time in days. Tomorrow, he would face the next challenge, and he wasn't afraid. He had allies now. Friends he didn't fully understand yet, but friends who were willing to guide him, laugh with him, and learn with him. The next day, they attempted the full pattern. The energy crystals had to levitate in a complex formation, synchronized perfectly. Alex's hands shook slightly as he focused. The crystals wavered, almost falling, and his heart raced. But Leora's calm presence, Solara's guiding tendrils, and Maris's steady encouragement reminded him to breathe. Step by step, the pattern formed. Colors intertwined in dazzling light, crystals floated in harmony, and the team exchanged small smiles of triumph. Alex had never felt so accomplished. He realized that mistakes were part of learning, But success came from trust and cooperation. By midweek, the girls included Alex in every discussion. They asked for his ideas, his suggestions, and his observations. He found himself thinking differently, noticing details they had missed, and proposing small adjustments that made a big difference.
He felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before.
One evening, as they stayed late to perfect the project, Solara spoke quietly. "Do you ever feel kind of out of place?"
Alex nodded. "All the time. When I first came here, I thought I would never fit in."
Everything was strange. Everyone was different. And I felt invisible. Me.
She tilted her head, her tendrils floating gently. "We feel the same, even here with our own kind. Differences make us cautious."
But together, we can belong. Alex smiled, realizing the truth of her words. Differences didn't have to separate them. They could unite them. Their unique abilities, perspectives, and experiences combined to create something none of them could do alone. By the end of the week, the project was ready. The crystals floated in a perfect formation, glowing with synchronized energy. Alex looked at the girls beside him and felt a deep sense of pride, not just in the project, but in the journey they had shared. They had faced uncertainty, mistakes, and fear together, and emerged stronger as a team. The teacher approached, her soft glow illuminating the room.
"Excellent work, group. You have demonstrated more than technical skill.
You have shown collaboration, understanding, and trust.
Alex, you have been an important part of this success."
Alex felt a warm glow in his chest. For the first time, he wasn't just surviving, he was contributing, learning, and being appreciated for who he was. The alien girls smiled at him, genuine pride and friendship in their expressions. He realized that he had moved from being an outsider to being an essential part of the group. That night, as Alex lay in bed, reflected on the week, he had started as the nervous human boy, unsure of himself, struggling to understand alien ways. He had faced mistakes, awkwardness, and fear. But through patience, cooperation, and trust, he had built connections that transcended differences. He understood now that belonging wasn't about looking the same, speaking the same, or being expected. Belonging was about being seen, valued, and respected for who you were. Alex smiled, thinking about tomorrow. There would be new challenges, new lessons, and more opportunities to grow. But he felt ready. He had friends. He had confidence. And he had learned something far more important than any science experiment. True connection comes from patience, understanding, and embracing differences. For the first time since arriving, Alex didn't just hope to survive. He looked forward to the days ahead, knowing that being human in a class full of alien girls wasn't a limitation. It was a chance to discover something extraordinary. The morning of the presentation arrived quickly. Alex woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness, though this time, the nervousness didn't feel like fear. It was the same kind of energy he felt before any big event on Earth. His stomach fluttered, his hands tingled, and his mind raced with possibilities. But instead of dreading it, he felt ready. He and the girls had practiced, learned, and grown together.
They were prepared. He dressed carefully in his school uniform, straightened his hair, and checked his bag for the tablet containing the project's final data.
The sun shone through the tall, shimmering windows of the dormitory, casting soft reflections across the floor.
Alex paused for a moment, taking a deep breath.
This was it. Today, the world, or at least their classroom, would see what they had accomplished together. When he arrived at the classroom, the girls were already there, setting up the crystals and adjusting the holographic displays. Leora glanced at him, her patterns shifting brightly. Silara's tendrils floated gracefully, glowing softly, Maris's golden scales shimmered like sunlight. They looked calm, confident, and ready. Alex felt a surge of warmth. These girls were not just classmates, they were friends, mentors, and allies. And he had a role to play in their success. The other students gathered, chatting and whispering in their languages. Alex noticed some curious glances toward him, the human boy who had been struggling just days ago. But this time, he didn't feel intimidated. He remembered the lessons of the past week: patience, trust, effort, and collaboration. He could do this. The teacher approached, her translucent skin glowing softly. "Today, each group will present their project," she said. "Remember, we are here not just to evaluate results, but to observe cooperation and creativity." Alex took a deep breath and joined the girls at their table. Together, they activated the energy crystals. The crystals began to hover, emitting soft, glowing light. Alex concentrated, focusing on aligning his crystal with the others. Leora adjusted hers. Solara's tendrils guided the flow, and Maris ensured everything moved in perfect harmony.
The pattern began to form, a delicate, dazzling display of colors and movement.
The crystals floated in intricate shapes, lights merging and separating like dancing stars. Alex's hands trembled slightly, but the girls' steady presence reassured him. He wasn't alone. They had practiced together. They had learned together. They had grown together. As the pattern reached its peak, the room fell silent. Even the other students, who had been whispering and observing, stopped to watch. The colors swirled beautifully, the crystals aligned perfectly, and the energy seemed to hum with life. Alex felt a sense of awe. They had done it. They had created something extraordinary, something none of them could have achieved alone. The teacher's glowing eyes softened. "Excellent work, group," she said. "You have demonstrated not only technical skill, but collaboration, patience, and understanding. Alex, your contribution has been vital."
You are a part of this success. Alex's heart swelled.
For the first time since arriving, he truly felt included. He had started this journey as the nervous human boy, unsure of himself, and now he was an essential member of a team that had achieved something remarkable. He looked at the girls beside him, Leora, Solara, and Maris, and smiled. They had guided him, supported him, and trusted him, and now he could see that they valued him. After the presentation, the other students approached them, some clapping, some asking questions, some expressing admiration.
Alex was surprised.
On Earth, he had often been overlooked even when he tried his best. Here he felt seen. His mistakes, his efforts, his ideas, they had all mattered.
During lunch, the girls invited Alex to sit with them, not at the back or as an outsider, but right in the center of their group.
They laughed together, shared stories about their planets, and even included him in small jokes he could understand. Alex realized how much had changed in just 1 week. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer just the human boy in a strange world. He was part of a community. Later, as they walked through the gardens, Alex looked around at the strange, glowing plants and the floating creatures. Everything still seemed extraordinary, but it no longer felt alien in a frightening way. He had learned to observe, to understand, and to adapt. More importantly, he had learned to connect. Differences didn't have to create barriers. They could create opportunities. Leora spoke first, her soft voice cutting through the quiet of the garden. "Alex," she said, "you have shown courage, not just in this project, but in being yourself. You did not hide, you did not give up, and you helped us all succeed." Alex felt his cheeks warm.
"Thank you," he said. I couldn't have done it without you."
Solara added. "We learned from you too. Your ideas, your ways of thinking. Different, but valuable."
You helped us see things we might have missed.
Maris nodded. Humans are unusual, yes.
But unusual can be powerful. You brought balance to our team.
You belong here, Alex.
Alex's heart lifted. Belonging. It was a word he had rarely felt connected to. But now, in this moment, he understood it. Belonging wasn't about being like everyone else. It was about being valued for who you were. And here, in a world so different from his own, he belonged. Over the next few days, Alex noticed subtle changes. Students who had once ignored him now greeted him, asked his opinion, or smiled when he entered the classroom. The alien girls continued to include him in discussions, shared experiences, and small adventures across the campus. Alex realized that acceptance didn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it grew slowly, through actions, respect, and trust. One evening, as Alex sat in the dorm lounge finishing homework, Solara floated beside him. "Do you remember your first day?" she asked. Alex chuckled softly.
How could I forget?
I was terrified. I felt invisible, awkward, like I didn't belong anywhere. She smiled.
And now?
Now, Alex said, looking around at the quiet, glowing lounge. I feel like I'm part of something. I feel at home. Leora joined them, her shifting patterns glowing brighter.
You see? You didn't just survive.
You helped us grow too. We are stronger together. Alex felt a wave of gratitude. In just a week, his life had changed in ways he had never imagined. The fear, the isolation, the uncertainty. They hadn't disappeared entirely, but they no longer controlled him. He had learned courage, patience, and the power of connection. The final day of the week arrived, and the teacher organized a small ceremony to recognize the group's achievements.
Alex's group was celebrated for creativity, cooperation, and innovation.
They received praise not just for the project, but for how they had worked together. Alex looked at the girls, who beamed with pride. He realized that their success wasn't just about the crystals or the patterns. It was about the journey, the teamwork, and the trust they had built.
After the ceremony, the teacher spoke to Alex quietly.
You have done more than I expected.
Being different can be difficult, but it can also be a strength. You have shown that courage and respect can overcome fear. Remember this lesson. It will serve you well in all worlds.
Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment.
He understood now that differences were not weaknesses. They were opportunities to learn, to grow, and to connect. Being human in a class full of alien girls had once seemed impossible, but now it had become a source of strength, pride, and joy. That night, Alex lay in bed, thinking about the week. He had arrived as a nervous, uncertain boy, unsure if he could belong. He had struggled, stumbled, and made mistakes. But he had also learned, grown, and connected in ways he never thought possible. He felt gratitude for the girls who had guided him, for the teacher who had trusted him, and for himself, for having the courage to try. He realized that life was full of differences in species, culture, language, and experience.
But these differences didn't have to divide people. They could unite them, creating something richer, deeper, and more meaningful than anything one could achieve alone.
Alex smiled as he drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities. But he was ready. He had friends, confidence, and the understanding that being different was not something to fear. It was something to embrace. For the first time since leaving Earth, Alex felt a sense of true belonging. He wasn't just a human boy in a class of alien girls. He was part of a team, part of a community, and part of something extraordinary. And in that knowledge, he found peace, pride, and the joy of discovery.